Hey everybody, and welcome to the Bright Founders Talk at Thiemo. Thiemo is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. My name's Matthew, and I'm joined tonight by Thiemo, who is the co-founder of a company called 15 Seconds. How are you doing this evening, Thiemo?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward.
Good. Thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to talk to us today. Before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about 15 Seconds?
Sure, I'd love to. So the company's actually been around for a while. We founded it back in 2012, so it's a good 10, 11 years old. And we've been hosting an annual conference called the 15 Seconds Festival, where everything is about curiosity. So the headline is Europe's Festival for Curious Minds. And we're joined by various speakers, leaders or bright minds. Global brands have joined us over the years on the likes of the New York Times, Facebook, Lufthansa, YouTube, NASA. So there's a variety of well-known brands. And we like to combine perspectives. So it's lots of different industries meet, lots of different disciplines come together, talking about ideas, exchanging views, and really collectively thinking about the future, which is our whole theme at the annual conference.
Wow, that's awesome. So an actual festival. So when I think of a festival, I think about music and dancing and entertainment, Burning Man, getting stuck in the desert. How does it compare to a regular festival, like the standard sort of idea?
So when we set out, there wasn't too many festivals or conferences out there, at least not in the German-speaking area. And we founded this in Austria, where it's still based. And we wanted to actually achieve exactly what you just said. We wanted to get the best breed of a music festival in terms of the vibe, the people being relaxed and in a good mood, and combine it with a business conference. So to take the best of those two worlds and combine them together to an experience where you would really feel inspired to meet new people. And it's not just about like boring conference rooms soaking up knowledge, but rather having something where people can really again, feel inspired. I'm happy to network and have a great experience and a good time for 2 days.
Well, that's terrific. I like the idea of that business in the front, party at the back. Are mullets part of the sort of traditional dress code?
Yes.
Now tell me, Thiemo, let's work in a circle this evening. Tell me about when you started out, school, university. What were your sort of dreams? What were your aspirations? Did you follow a traditional course? Did life take you by surprise? Tell us about your years starting out.
Sure. So I think life definitely did take me by surprise. I actually quit high school when I was 15 years old to become a full-time designer. So I was really into typography, graphic design. It was always something I was really passionate about. And I've been running a small design studio at this time together with a friend. And there was a time when I said, hey, I really want to do this full-time. And it didn't feel like a difficult decision then. In retrospect, now it probably was a difficult decision to quit school and really pursue a working career right away. But in hindsight, it was one of the best choices I could have made for my career, because I could really, for a couple of years, focus entirely on graphic design, and later on also a little bit of web development. So combining design and technology. And eventually founded then the company, which is now 15 Seconds in 2012, alongside Stefan, my co-founder, who I met back then. So I really had probably the anti-academic path, if you look at it that way.
That is so cool. I know a lot of us dream of leaving school at 15. I have a young daughter, and I think she's 13 now. I think she's dreaming of leaving school, but you had to be very sure of yourself. You know, you say in hindsight it was probably a difficult decision, but you had to be pretty sure when you said, you know what, this isn't for me. This is where I want to go. For you to step out of that regular system and do something by yourself, you must have known that it wasn't for you. The school, I mean.
Yes. I mean, it's been a while since then, so it's hard to really recall the exact emotions going on there. But I think there was some sort of naiveness to this as well, because you know, when you're 15, you don't think too much about making those decisions. You rather just follow your gut. And I think in my position back then, where I really knew deep down what I was passionate about, and also had an opportunity to really make a living out of this. So it wasn't like I quit school and then I'll find out where life takes me. It was quite the opposite. I was really occupied with doing what I loved at the time, and I still really enjoy design a lot. It's not that I got off this track, but back then it was really something where I could switch from being occupied with both an education system that seemed ridiculous to me at the time, and I mean, if I look at it today, it in some ways still is ridiculous. If you try to get students to all do the same thing, learn the same thing, really try them to fit in rather than look at what their talents are and make the best out of this. And I really had the chance to just put this down and focus fully on what I was already doing. So it was kind of easier, and I didn't put that much thought into it when I actually made the call.
Wow.
Obviously, my parents weren't happy about it, but somehow they also saw that I thought at least I knew where I was going. I probably didn't, but it still turned out okay for me. It actually didn't just turn out okay. It was the best path that I could have taken, looking at it in retrospect.
What I really like is that your story's, it's quite unique. And we hear a bunch of different paths, a bunch of different ways that people start out. Some people know where they're going, some people don't. Sometimes it's chance. And what I think is really important to take away from that is that it doesn't matter where you started or how you started, but it is possible to get yourself where you're going. Tell us a little bit about the birth of 15 Seconds. You're a co-founder. How did this idea come into being?
So I think the birth moment was actually rooted in frustration. I would say it's a good mix of frustration and inspiration, actually. So I met my co-founder. I think it was the year 2010. And I was a full-time freelance designer, so that was my job. And he hired me for the company to do a job that he was at the time, and that's how we learned to work together. And we really saw this opportunity to start our own marketing consulting agency as a two-person show. And so he quit his job, and I said, "Hey, I'm I'm all in." I completed the last design projects that I've had going on back then, and we said, "Hey, let's go for this, and let's start our own marketing agency." And 6 months in, we learned that we had hardly any networks back then. We were both pretty young, and we had no reputation as such, as we didn't have any references, any big brands that have worked with us at the time. So it was really hard to get any new projects. And at the same time, we visited some conferences internationally. So we were really into making new connections and learning something new, and we would invest all of our money into flying out to, I think it was Amsterdam, where we attended a conference. Canada, Montreal was one, and a bunch more in the UK. And every time that we would come back and stepped our foot out of the plane in Vienna, the capital of Austria, we said, why isn't there anything like this in the German-speaking region? And especially if you look at our hometown, Graz, which is, I think there's around 300,000 inhabitants, so it's quite small. And there's not too much, or at least back then, there was not too much going on with an international spirit. And so we thought, why not do something that really gets a lot of interesting people from all around the world coming to a city they probably haven't heard of yet, and need to look it up on a map to know where they're going after reading our invitation. Why not do something like this? And why not stop pursuing the marketing agency plan that we had in place and put all of our energy into putting together a conference? And our initial goal, and that's sort of the mission that we had back then, was to get 1,000 people to Graz. That was our idea. And when we started to talk about this idea with people, most people, I would say 9 out of 10 people, would tell us that we were absolutely crazy, and that nobody would attend at a conference that had never happened before in a small town. I think that was part of the magic. I think a lot of people bought a ticket to see us fail.
Wow.
And somehow we, in the first year, it was 2014, where we hosted our first conference, we managed to get 1,300 people to attend the conference. And a lot of international speakers from big brands that traveled to Graz for the first time. And they had a good time. And the participants that bought a ticket, they had a good time. And so that was sort of the year one and the birth moment of our international community.
Wow, that is fantastic. I particularly enjoyed it when you said, I think a lot of people bought a ticket to watch us fail, and maybe all those people turned around and went, okay, we were wrong, and they were right, and now there's something beautiful happening. Tell me a bit about the name, 15 Seconds.
Sure. So when we came up with the name, we thought it would be a good analogy to the gut feeling that you develop within the first 15 seconds of meeting new people, or seeing a brand for the first time, or seeing an ad somewhere. And especially if you attend a conference where there's so much going on, there's lots of speakers talking at the same time, you meet a bunch of new people, there's exhibitors hosting their booths, and you need to develop sort of an idea whether this is for you or not in a very short period of time. And if you look at the attention span that we have when consuming social media today, it's the same principle. And I think if you look at it from a psychological standpoint, and the data today, I think our attention span is well below 15 seconds. But that is the core idea, is that we back then, we trusted our gut feeling that we developed without making any big time SWOT analysis of do we want to pursue this or not, or is this a good business plan? We basically just said, hey, this is something that the world needs because we believe in it, and we are frustrated because there is nothing similar out there, so why not create it? So we followed our heart and our gut feeling, and this is, again, usually something that you develop pretty fast. Might not always be in 15 seconds or less, but we just fell in love with the name, and the domain was free, so we said, hey, let's put together our first website, and let's go for it.
I like the story. I like how everything came about, and it must have been quite a learning journey for you personally. A lot of these things, it sounds like, you're doing it for the first time, you're taking all of this in for the first time, and you must have learned a lot about yourself, and obviously a lot about the process. Can you maybe run us through some of the major lessons you learned along the way?
Ooh, that's a tough one. What are the major lessons?
Work with yourself if you want.
I think
something you learned about yourself, perhaps.
I think I would want to emphasize a little bit more about the follow your gut as a learning, because our headline has been saying, or our claim has been saying, the future belongs to the curious ones for quite a while now. And if you ask yourself, where does curiosity start? It starts really early on. So usually, when you're born as a baby, you're super curious. You want to learn about everything, and you take your first steps, and nothing really holds you back. So you have all the confidence that you need to follow through. You don't think about what other people would say and what they might feel about it, or how they would judge you, but you just follow through. And I think that is a big learning that is getting more and more lost. In the beginning of our conversation tonight, we talked about the education system, and I said that I was frustrated with how the education system, especially school in the very early days or up until high school, they really try to fit everyone into one system, and they really don't take into consideration the individual needs or strengths or talents. And in a lot of ways, our education system is broken because it takes curiosity away from you. And I would say with some of the decisions we made, and some of, if you look at my path, or if I look back at my career so far, I think being curious was one of the biggest thing that really kept me sane and brought me to where I am today, and hopefully will get me where I want to go in the future. So I think that's the first and foremost, the big learning.
Well, beautiful. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, we spoke a little bit about where it came from, how it came about, things that you've learned about yourself. So looking at the company now, it's grown, right? You've built a team around you. There's people that you work with. How's that process been for you, building a team and surrounding yourself with the right people?
I think that if you want to achieve big things, you need great people to really believe in you and the vision that you put together. And nobody does anything alone, at least not something bigger. In every stage or every obstacle or challenge that we faced along the way, I mean, there was COVID not too long ago, which was a hard hit for the whole event industry. And also in the very early days, the foundation of the company, we always had people that had our backs, and we had people that believed in us and joined a vision and that really made it happen for us to grow the company.
That's good. That's good. Are you actively involved in onboarding new team members, or have you moved past that?
Yes. So there is a team of about 10 people working throughout the whole year to put together the conference. And as we move closer, the conference usually happens in June. As we move closer to June, there's a crew that really helps to support the whole event operations on site, but also preparing the event. And I'm also involved throughout the whole operation.
Fantastic. Now, you mentioned a couple of the names, some of the people that have been through to this event. And did you expect after your first year that it was going to grow so rapidly that you were going to progress at this rate, or has everything come as a bit of a surprise? Did you foresee your future?
I think there is, or if I If I look at it in hindsight, there's always surprises, and there's always something that you can anticipate, and look at some scenarios of what might happen and try to prepare. But at the end of the day, life and also the business side of life is full of surprises. So definitely both.
Yeah. Okay. And tell me something, talking about your future, what do you see in the near future for 15 seconds? Are there any big things we need to know about? Anything to keep an eye on? What are you looking for?
So as a future of 15 seconds is it's more and more about really personal growth. So we've always had a wide variety of topics that our speakers brought on stage, and during the last one or two events, we really ventured into the idea of focusing more on your own health, on your own personal growth, and how you can really progress and evolve in relation to your visions and your dreams. And we want to really support that. So in the future of 15 seconds, you will see more and more products and ideas that are centered around this core idea and this core belief of never stop learning and never stop being curious.
One of my favorite questions we like to ask everybody: if you have to wake up every day and you see a quote written on your bedroom wall, what does it say?
There's one that comes to my mind that also covers a lot of what we discussed and talked about today, and that is Richard Branson. I'm sure everyone knows him, and he said, "You don't learn to walk by following the rules. You learn by doing and failing over." And I think that's very inspirational, and that's something that I've been living by in my career, and that I would always emphasize again.
I like that. That's very, very cool. And then lastly, I'm going to let you go. We've had a bit of technical difficulties tonight. Thank you for your patience. But before we go anywhere, is there anything you'd like to mention, anything you'd like to tell our viewers and our listeners before we go?
Yeah, so there's definitely our festival happening next year in June of 2024 in Austria. So go check out 15seconds.com and see if you're interested in any of the speakers or topics you'll find there, and join our community. We send out a newsletter every now and then to tell you about new speakers that are coming up. So go check out 15seconds.com. And I'm happy to see lots of people listening to this show next year in Austria at the 15 Seconds Festival.
Fantastic. Thiemo, thank you so much. On behalf of myself and the team, we obviously wish you all the best for the future. And we can't thank you enough for sharing your story with us. And we really appreciate it.
Matthew, thanks for the invitation. Thanks for having me. It was great to chat with you. And I'm looking forward to more episodes of the show. And I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.